All right, perfect. Definitely appreciate you guys for tuning in yet again another weekly outlook. Obviously, it's just a call that we do just to make sure you guys are properly prepared. And if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You don't want to wake up not knowing what levels you expect, anticipating on being hit, not having no type of bias whatsoever. So, if you guys can actually, get these things in alignment prior to them happening, it just helps the decision making process out a whole lot more, right? So I was running a little late today because it was actually my daughter's birthday yesterday, second birthday, and today is a lot of family that was like out of town. They couldn't get to see her yesterday, so we were just making our runs, letting everybody see her and all of that, picking up gifts, et cetera, et cetera. And one thing that I realized, guys, I don't know if anybody on the call has kids and stuff like that. First things first, I say it's probably the most fulfilling thing that you'll do, right? Especially if you do it with the right person. I can't speak for everybody. I got homies that's pulling their hair out. You know what I'm saying? Because they so stressed out about the situation. But if you can have a good family dynamic and you with somebody that you actually like and trust and value, I feel like it's definitely one of the most fulfilling things that you can do, right? It puts a lot of things in perspective. And the main thing for me, it just showed me how valuable time really is. When you look at yourself every day and you live with yourself every day, it's like obviously, time is passing by, but you don't really notice how rapidly and how fleeting it really is until you have something outside of yourself to measure time against, right? Again, when you look at yourself every day, sometimes you don't notice how fast it's happening, but when you got a child that couldn't walk a year and a half ago, couldn't talk, and now it's doing all of these things and understands the world around it, it's like, wow, time is really moving, 2 years already. And, again, it just puts things in perspective. Like, we really here experiencing life and grateful that we all still here, but everybody isn't here. We're not here permanently, right? You know what I mean? And obviously I know it's a different topic than what most people start their trading calls with. I just want you guys to really wake up with a sense of urgency in how you spend your time, because you don't have forever to do these things. Like my boy Devin would always say, your goals have an expiration date on them, right? In terms of not just the goal itself and the opportunity itself, but the reasons why you're even going after these things in the first place. A lot of you are going after your goals to free your family, to take care of your mom. You want to retire your mom one day. You want to retire your parents. You want to, travel the world. You want to do all of these things. Not realizing that, and some people are dragging their feet, not realizing that, you know, your parents ain't gonna always be here. You know what I mean? Like your kid isn't always gonna be little, right? And if you don't have kids yet, one day you might. So you need to prepare for that, right? And it's just realizing, like I said, fatherhood has been one of those things that really, helped me in a lot of ways where, you know, sometimes I didn't always value, or take the best advantage of time. And now I'm like super, super punctual with everything. And I feel like it's been one of the things that's really helped me just in my life and in my development. So if I could, encourage you guys to do anything differently with your lives, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys already do this. So I'm not saying it's a problem that everybody has, but make the most out of your time, guys. Every day you need to be trying to move closer towards your goals, right? And I know it sounds abstract, it sounds cliche, right? But at the end of the day, you'd be surprised how many people are in the same spot today as they was in January. And it's like, how is that even possible if you're intentionally growing every single day? Only way you should be in the same spot is if you intentionally sabotaging yourself, or maybe even non-intentionally. But I say all to say this: we trade in here for a reason, guys. We all get on these charts and these graphs, these up and down movements can literally be the difference between the zip code that you live in. You know what I'm saying? The linens in your fabric and on the clothing that you wear. It could be the difference between the quality of foods that you eat. It could be the difference between the experiences that you're able to have, the places that you're able to travel, the memories that you'll be able to create in this small piece of consciousness that we have here on earth, right? And sometimes I feel like people play with the opportunity. Sometimes I feel like people don't truly understand the level of determination that it takes. But it's somebody that's been in this game for 7 years and probably hasn't missed a day, right? And I could tell you that whatever you think you're doing is probably not enough, right? The gap that you're missing and the areas that you're deficient, it's not technical analysis. For some of you, it is. Some of y'all are new, right? Like if you've been trading for less than probably 3 years, you probably haven't seen enough. You ain't put in enough chart time to really be successful, right? You got to see the markets in, different administrations. You got to see the markets, when there's shutdowns, when there's pandemics, when there's this, when there's that. Like some of y'all haven't put in enough chart time to really master the markets. But I'm talking about for the people that have. Some of you guys been trading since 2020, 2019, whatever, whenever you got started, right? If you haven't had your breakthrough yet, I need you to understand that there's something that you're not doing and you know what it is, right? Maybe it's documenting more, maybe it's journaling more. It's probably not chart related, right? It's probably discipline. It's all in between your ears. A lot of you guys know everything you need to know from a technical perspective to make enough money to survive. And not just survive, but thrive. But there's something missing and you probably know what it is. I'm gonna challenge you guys to accomplish whatever that is because before you know it, it's gonna be November 2026, and it's gonna be another year of either growth or another year of excuses for some of y'all, right? So like I said, man, not to just go on a quick little rant or nothing like that, but like I said, just being a father is just really changed my dynamic and my perception of time a lot more. And I'm very, very, serious about this life shit, as we all should be, right? So just don't go through the motions, guys. Just because you can sit at home and relax and trade doesn't mean that the amount of work you put in mentally isn't gonna be, some of the most strenuous and difficult that you ever put in. A lot of people think, oh, just push a button and just make money, whatever. And if you're just a signal taker, maybe that is what it is for you. Like, I don't know. I'm not a huge signal guy. But for everybody that's trying to be self-sufficient in this game, I'm telling you that's what it's going to take. All right. So, with that being said, thank you for showing up to my TED Talk. But let's get into it. I know what the reason we really all here, but you got to do that sometimes. You got to go through that mental, growth discussion just to, be as good as you can be on the charts. All right. So, with that being said, Alexino, I ain't seen you in a minute, man. What's up, bro? Let me see what we all got. Just checking the chat real quick. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So, let's kick this thing off with gold. All right. So far as gold is concerned, I do feel like we're going through this accumulation stage in order to return back bullish, right? We had a really good pullback phase, which was much needed. If we're being completely honest, I mean, this was the best pullback we've had going back towards the middle of summer, being completely honest. Like June, but even June wasn't as big as this one, right? Like we just measure it, what's that, like 1,800 pips versus this sellout, yeah, yeah. So this was by far the biggest retracement we had pretty much all year. Okay. So with that being said, I do feel like this was really, really good. It was much needed. A quick little breather period for the markets, but I'm confident that we'll return back bullish, right? So I see some of y'all were already in gold buys, and TPs was getting hit and all of that, so that looks good, right? If you in them, keep holding, right? If you haven't taken any yet, however, I would wait for a small retracement just because gold is not something you want to buy in a bad position, right? Like if you buy too high and the market gives you a decent retrace, it can literally destroy your whole account. So if I were you, I would definitely wait for this market to retrace a pretty decent amount, just to give you a real reason to take buys again, right? Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say you have to come back to these extreme lows or anything like that, but because gold is really respecting market structure right now, market structure and momentum more so than it's respecting like every area of liquidity, right? If you guys were on a weekly outlook last week, we talked about this area here, right? Market came and wicked it, rejected, pulled up a little bit higher, but ultimately, the main thing that we're paying attention to is these highs respecting these highs here. So, once we've seen that, we came down to that first POI. Again, this chart hasn't been touched since last week. We came down to this POI, and now we see the market erupt bullish, right? Now it's like, okay, obviously we are in a bullish, order flow currently, but now that we're in the process of taking out highs here, the question now becomes, do you want to buy immediately after you clear this high point, right? Probably not. The best thing to do would be to wait for a nice sell-off, right? And if you can come down into these regions here, even some of these regions, and start rejecting a little bit, right? It doesn't have to be the most perfect rejection. Sometimes it's a rejection and a sweep like this, right? Sometimes it's a small rejection, small sweep, right? Sometimes you get a little consolidation, then the market sweeps the low, and then takes off. So this is essentially what I'm looking for, right? Until the market's gonna drop, in my opinion, from here, could drop a pretty good amount just to fill in this little space. But once the market actually creates a low that it can react from and then takes it out, that's where I would probably be looking to continue buying. All right. So I do think gold is gonna, go pretty bullish this week. I'm still keeping my eyes open for this though, right? I'll be honest, like this little bullish push right here, it looks pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie. And if I just look at, the overall momentum that gold's been moving with all year, like I don't want to be the one guy that's like, oh, it's gonna drop from here. Like I don't want to like, be too ambitious with the sales, to be quite honest. Really this sell right here was really attractive to me last week because I felt like we could at least come to this area and even potentially this area here. And even though I still want to hit this low, I'm not going to necessarily sell the market to get there. Now, if we somehow end up there, then by all means, I'm taking mean buys, right? Like, if the market finds its way down here, best believe that we can come down underneath 3,900, 38.9, best believe I'm buying like there's no tomorrow. But again, I'm not gonna sell in order to get there, right? If the market finds a way to get there, maybe we have a little buildup of trend line liquidity here. The thing about these trend lines is when the market reacts off of them too many times, what's happening is obviously that's a basic, pattern, right? That's a basic, strategy pattern. So what'll happen is after so many bounces, these trend lines start to fail, right? Because after they get too obviously like too obvious, too many bounces, there's liquidity building up underneath it that can attract the market back down here. Again, I'm not going to be the guinea pig to sit here and sell it, but it would not surprise me if we don't get this, buy formation that I discussed earlier. It would not surprise me if the market actually went bearish, right? The other thing is there's a the government shutdown is rumored to be ending, right? So if it does end by chance, right, I don't think that's going to necessarily make gold that much stronger. Now, throughout the shutdown, surprisingly, how long has it been? Let's just do a quick little recap here. I think it's been like 35 days, something like that, 37 days. Let's just use this real quick. Okay. Market's actually around the same region it was. Maybe the market's a little bit higher than when the shutdown actually took place. But when there's government certainty, that's not necessarily strong gold conditions. Now, even though gold has been strong all year, so I don't want to sit here and just say that it's going to go bearish. I just don't necessarily, like I said, I just wouldn't be surprised, right? Again, if we get that low consolidation, sweet, take the buys. But if we somehow end up down here underneath 38.95, that'll be an excellent buying opportunity, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that. So just keep your eyes on that, guys. Potential higher low. Monitor the lower time frames to see. Um, Monitor the lower time frames to see if we make that higher low in the lower time frames. Again, you're looking for three phases of the market. The market to first consolidate, take out the lows of consolidation, and then continue back to the upside. Until you get that on gold, the market will probably drop until that happens on the lower time frame, right? So if you guys haven't noticed, I'm not in love with signals just because I like to react to the market on the lower time frames, like in the moment. Like I might take this buy, I might take this sell, I might take this, take that. So that's just the way that I trade because I execute on lower time frames. A lot of people execute on an hour, 4 hour, whatever, not understanding that you can get the same risk to reward on the 1 minute. And trading patterns are fractal. So the same thing you see on the hour chart or the 4 hour chart, you can see that on the 1 minute chart. So I'd rather get all my wins and losses out the way quick. So that way my equity curve can develop faster, right? Um, you don't want to look at your profitability from trade to trade. You really want to look at it over the course of many trades, right? Maybe like 20 or 30 positions. So you can either take 5 trades a week or you take 5 trades a day. Like really I take like anywhere from 3 to 4, depending on how long it takes me to get a win. But I will give myself it like 3 to 4 trades per day in order to find a win. So a lot of people might take 5 trades a week. I'm taking probably 3 to 4 per day in order to find my wins. Okay. And that just helps my equity curves establish itself that much faster. So now that we're taking a look at Euro USD, this was a level that I told you guys to pay attention to last week just because we had a hezzy crossover over here. Obviously, the strong level of demand. Okay. And I actually just closed this buyout on Friday. It was a solid buy. I mean, honestly, last week wasn't nice to me. I'll be honest. This trade saved. You know what I mean? This trade literally saved me because like I was not hitting last week for whatever reason. The markets was just kind of a little weird to me. Like even like Nas, it was a lot of opportunities, but like this sale. It happened like an hour before the market opened. So I was like, God damn, like, and then Monday, I usually don't really trade Mondays. So that's when that first sale happened. So I was literally missing trades like crazy last week. And then the opportunities that did present themselves was outside of my trading window. So, truth be told, that this EU buy really helped me out a lot because I wouldn't have made no money last week if it wasn't for that. So obviously we came down, we swept multiple levels. That's what I want you guys to understand, right? Swept a level of equal lows right here. We took out a weak hezzy over there. So now there's no surprise why the market is returning bullish. Now, where might we go? We need to target, all right, buy side liquidity, all right? Or excuse me, that's considered sell side, actually. This actually is flipped, right? So the market, like there's sellers in the market right here. So the seller liquidity is right there, right? So let's go ahead and put my dollar signs right there. I'm gonna go ahead and attack this level, right? I still have my area of supply marked up here, okay? Can the market react here and come lower? Possibly, right? This low really isn't the strongest low I've ever seen. The market can definitely reverse from this area, but I would not be surprised to see this market come here, come down one more time, and then go long. All right. Because this long, like this low right here, it looks decent, but it ain't great. All right. It ain't great. So I'm bullish for now. All right. On Euro USD. So now it's like, where do we find our entries at? Okay. Now we just kind of have this orders flow. It's somewhat bullish, right? Not pretty. Little correction, impulse up. I would like to clear out some lows first. All right. We can find our way underneath here. Again, timing is important as well. Um, it's 9:17 on the East Coast, so I'm not really looking to buy at this moment. But if we could, stall out a little bit going into London, right? Going into London, maybe we create another low right here. And now it's like we starting to see the generation of liquidity. Now I have my first level sweep here. I have my second level sweep here. I like to see two levels get taken out and then we can continue back to the upside. All right. So that's like a little small continuation type of setup that I would take. All right. Again, it's not the most beautiful trade. There's much better type of opportunities out there, but considering that the reversal already happened, right? We have to take these lower time frame continuations, right? You got to try to find moves like this, right? You got to try to find the next move like that. And that's how you do it, just on a lower time frame, lower perspectives, all right? So that's that. I would say that Euro USD will continue bullish until we get above 16.7, right, as a round number, 1.167. Realistically, more like 16.8, right? But 16.7 is a bare minimum. I definitely set an alert so you could just hit your plus sign. All right. Hit your plus sign at 16.7. So that way your phone goes off when this layer area hits. And now you could be prepared to execute that trade live. All right. So I got my alert set at 16, was it 16.7? Once that area gets hit, I'll be in the market looking for potential sales. I can also put an alert here at the low where I'm looking at potentially taking a buy position. So right here I can just move it up a little bit. All right, so 1.153. All right, once we trade underneath 1.153, again, timing is important. Around London session open time, I'd be looking for longs on Euro USD. All right. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at GU. Waited for that buy for quite a while. Took a couple early buys up here, but it finally took place, right? Finally took place. So same as Euro USD. For the time being, we are definitely bullish, right? But once we start clearing out multiple levels, right? I would say this is a area of interest just because there's a small little imbalance above it, previous structure point as well. I would say we're gonna be bullish just to start the week. Now we could reverse once we get up in this region above 324, especially above 324. That's just a round number to give you guys. But now let's just kind of look at the lower picture and see what we see here, right? Now, if I'm being honest, this looks a little better than Euro USD. I almost took this. I don't know why I didn't. I think I was in another position, but again, you look for little setups like this, right? Strong low. This low is lower than this low. So you see what's happening, right? You get the consolidation, manipulation, right? This is the first phase, consolidation, manipulation, continuation. That's all you really need in order to take a position, right? So that's why I always want to see a low get cleared before we continue, right? So strong low, hezi, crossover, right? The little nicking and the little hesitation candle, crossover, market comes back down. Now we continue. So what do we see here, right? Asia session low, creates a low right here, right? We come and take that low out. So we got a strong low to some degree. It's not beautiful, but it is a strong low, right? We had a low that cleared previous lows, right? Then the market pushes up. We hesitate, crossover bullish by breaking old structure. So now I would like to see the hezi get taken out, right? That's typically how it goes. So if this can get taken out, right, this will be the low, this will be the high. All right, what you'll notice about the high is that the high is not strong. And when I say the high is not strong, what I mean is that it doesn't take previous high on itself, right? So you see how this high is the same height as the old one? Okay, that's what we call a relative equal high, right? And if the highs are relatively equal, that means that there's still money above it, or that's a future target, okay? Now, when you see lows that are unequal, like this, for example, you see lows here and then this one here, that means that the money underneath these lows were already taken. So this low is likely to be protected, meaning that we're no longer interested in going down, right? So that low should be protected while this high should be targeted, okay? Now, obviously, nothing's 100%, but when it comes to trading, it's really just about, probability, right? What's going to give you the highest likelihood for success. So when I look at that, I say, okay, we could somehow get underneath this low, and this is like a complex pullback, right? Because that's what's happening. Market is pulling back right now, right? So we get like a complex pullback, little build up, manipulation going into London or a little bit after London. I can definitely see that. Okay. So keep your eyes on this region, guys. Keep your eyes on this region right here. All right. But also keep your eyes here too, right? This could be a trap. Don't get me wrong. But you also want to keep your eyes here. Remember what I said. I give myself more than one opportunity. Okay. If you only swing once, and if you don't hit a home run, it's like, oh, what do I do now? It's like, no, you get 3 attempts, right? For my football guys, you get 4 downs to get a first. So you don't need to just, you know, only be, you don't have to hit it on a first, on a first attempt. You know what I'm saying? Like you can play around a little bit. You can get more than one attempt at this thing. So that's what it is that I see right there on GBP USD. And again, don't forget about the higher time frame target, right? Higher time frame target is still this high over here, right? So if we do get this buy, we're going to target this high up here. This is why if you could time it nicely, you got a very nice risk to reward on this trade, right? This is about a 1 to 11. Let's just say 1 to 10, just to give you an easy number to remember. And again, you don't have to have a very high win rate on trades like this, right? Everybody's focused on win rate, win rate, win rate, right? But you can have a high win rate just because you close the trade the moment it goes into profit, right? Like I know traders that they up 5 pips, they close. And they do that over and over and over again. So they have a high win rate technically. But what happens when they lose 50 pips? All of those wins are irrelevant now. Or you could trade this way, where I don't mind taking a loss or two in order to get a 1 to 10, right? And let's just say, okay, I'm down to, I get 10, now I'm up 8. You see what I'm saying? Or I lose 3, get 10, now I'm up 7. That's how I trade. Like it takes all the stress and all the pressure off of, feeling the urge to be right. Every day you wake up, oh, I gotta be right today. I hope I'm right today. I don't care because I'm gonna be right eventually. And even days where I'm not right at all, I show up tomorrow knowing that the law of averages is in my favor. I'm not gonna be wrong forever. You're gonna go on winning streaks, you're gonna go on losing streaks. It's just what the markets is. It's just what it is, what it is. So when I go on my winning streak, I'm gonna have such a big cushion that I could lose for a month and not lose my profit. Right? If I win one trade, I can lose for the next couple days and not lose my profit. This is how I approach the markets, right? I encourage y'all to think about it that way. It makes life a lot easier, right? All right, Nas, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We talked about this being a trap, right? The markets, I ain't gonna lie, before the market started dropping, I was interested in this area. But when I seen how the markets was dropping, I was like, you know what? That's dead, right? And then, just seeing the hezzy right here, relative equal lows. I mean, I understood why the sale took place. I really did. Right. Real quick, want y'all to pay attention to the patterns that the market is making. That little that little sweep of that high right there is all it took for the market to melt yet again. So we came down into this area. I thought we could respect this low. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't end up taking this trade, unfortunately. I'm not sure why, what happened. Maybe I was a little busy. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. But ultimately, we just ended up clearing this low, returning back bullish. I have this making new highs for sure, right? For sure, for sure. The markets like to do this sometimes. They like to wait until Friday, or they'll even do this on Sundays too. They know a lot of people ain't supposed to be trading. A lot of times, big moves happen at the beginning or the middle or at the end of the week. A lot of people will talk about midweek reversals, but I'm telling you, I don't have an exact statistic on it or exact numbers behind it. But as somebody that's been trading a long time, I could tell you that a lot of moves happen Sundays and Fridays. Sometimes they just wait it out, right? But also obviously we just cleared this low right here. And just clearing this low, grabbing the liquidity, I feel like this is gonna make new highs. Right. So just keep your eyes on this high up here this week. And wherever you can get in buys, I want you guys to take them. All right. Wherever you can find some buys, I want you guys to take them. The obvious setup initially out the gate is the gap, right? But I'm gonna be honest, I don't see this being 100% necessary. You're not always gonna clear gaps. You're not gonna always, take out gaps, guys. You just gotta understand that. If you guys remember last week, do you remember the setup I gave y'all last week? Right? We talked about this gap right here being respected. We talked about this high getting cleared, internal range liquidity. That's what IRL stands for. So this is the trading range, okay? This is the internal range liquidity. And once that gets taken out, we respect supply and then the market drop, right? So these are the types of patterns that happen, right? So obviously it's a different circumstance just a little bit, but ultimately the difference here is I don't really see internal range liquidity over here. And internal range liquidity is pretty much most of the time it's just a hezzy crossover, right? See here, market hesitates before it crosses over. So here we don't really have that, right? We just have a huge sell-off. But when I see a huge sell-off with no real hezzy, right? Some people might argue that this is one, but I don't think so. when you just see a huge sell-off like that, a lot of times the market will come and destroy that high. I want you guys to really just go look back in history. Look at all the times the market just made a random impulse without really creating internal structure. You'll notice that the market is likely to obliterate that entire move, right? So I believe that we're going to continue bullish. That high is the first target, second target. Really, both of those areas are targets, but primarily this one. And all we need in order to find this buy is a lower time frame setup, right? We already got the higher time frame perspective, right? If there's any way we can come down here, I want y'all to buy this, right? But in the case that we don't, in the case that we don't, you may have to not gamble, but you may have to do your best to just find a low, right? Like you might not create the best low, right? You may just, market may just give us this here, and you have to try to time it. That's the thing about, again, these types of setups when they're not reversals, continuations, in my opinion, are a little more difficult to catch than reversals because the accumulation isn't always there the way you want it to be, or the market may not always give you a steep retracement because the move has already happened. When you're talking about steep retracements and stuff like that, steep retracements usually create reversals, right? So if you see an impulse, you can usually rely on a steep retracement in order to cause the reversal for the market to go way up here. But there's little moves within that move right there, right? And within this entire move, there's another structure inside of it. And that structure right there is sometimes a little more difficult to catch because these higher lows aren't always going to be, have the perfect reversal pattern, right? So sometimes if the market's already on its way, you just have to try to catch something, right? And if for some people, it's just buying with the trust that this low will hold. There's people that trade like that. For some people, you'll wait until some low gets taken out, or come a little down a little bit lower. Me personally, I don't like this method right here. Right, it can work, but just from a probabilistic attitude, which is how we're supposed to trade, I would prefer to not trade that way. Not saying that it can't work. So what you got to realize as traders is sometimes you're going to miss setups completely. Market's going to move 1,000 pips without you. It's not about catching every move the market makes. It's about catching the moves that you can catch again if you've seen it, right? So the markets could keep shooting up, but if I took this trade tomorrow, market could just do that, and it would be well justified in doing so because I'm buying high instead of buying low, right? So you can try to be late to the party, and it'll work today, and it'll crush you tomorrow. My job is to take the trades that have the highest probability of success, even if that means I have to sit out a couple times, even if I have to watch the trade go without me, and now I have to think about all the money I could have made. That's gonna happen, guys. That's gonna happen every day you trade, guaranteed, right? So just be mindful of that type of stuff, and you guys will be all right. All right. So again, if we somehow find our way to the gap, buy it. If not, you can just try to catch one of these higher lows, these lower time frame ones, because I do believe that we're overall in pursuit of this high right here. So I would not be surprised if the market just respected this and just kept going, right? It doesn't have to make a steep retracement because it's already cleared liquidity and started that move. Once you're in the move, you can't always rely on a retracement, right? But just know that trade is going to have a little bit higher risk because your stop loss placement is not very clear, all right? Hope that's making sense. Let's keep it pushing. I know it's already a little late. I'll be honest, I'm a little tired. It's been Been running around all weekend. This low, man, this shit. I remember I told y'all this low right here. I told y'all this last week. We could overshoot as long as we respect this green zone. We are gonna make new highs, right? I don't care how it looks, guys. And trust me, my Bitcoin portfolio, my not my Bitcoin portfolio, my portfolio in general, right? My crypto portfolio has been in shambles, bro. Like I'll wake up down 3,000. Just today, I made like what did I make? Today, I made a couple, but it's just been ever since we got up here. I mean, it's been rough. I ain't gonna lie. It's been rough. It's been rough to see your profits dwindling away like this. But I told y'all this zone is very important. Okay, it's very important. And even when we reacted right here, I told y'all, even though we reacted, we could do this and we might overshoot, right? Go look at the recordings. We talked about this. As long as the market finds a way to rebound and respect this zone, we are going to make new highs. So my analysis has not changed at all. I still see, and sorry I got all this shit on the screen, guys. I'll be writing a whole lot, right? I still see 170, 180. Okay. I wouldn't even be surprised if we're at 170 to end the year. As crazy as that sounds, right? We at 100 right now, like 105. We can gain 60, 65,000 in just a month and a half. Wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time. But I do see new highs. I see new highs within the next couple of weeks, if I'm being completely honest. I see new highs. And I believe it's going to be a crypto Christmas. All right. I believe we can be above 160 going into Christmas time, the week of Christmas, pushing possibly 170 for New Year's. I think first quarter will be really big, right? I think we'll stay around the 170, in between 170, 190, somewhere around there. We'll play around before hitting 200. Sometime next year, we'll probably hit 200. But I'm so confident in this level because I've been talking about this level specifically since the summertime. And now that we're here, I just have to have conviction that it's gonna hold, right? I was talking about this level the moment the Hezi crossover was made. So the moment we created this Hezi crossover in July 14th, I told myself this level is going to be very important because of the formation that it made over here. All right. Where we created lows, took the lows, hesitated off of supply, then impulsed up. I was like, yo, that level is going to be important. Right now, 100,000, 105 level, that's going to be important. And it has been, right? It has been. So I'm anticipating really big moves happening. Expect others to follow suit. Internet computer has been going crazy. This has been another one that I've been really high on for quite a while. Um, this is one of the cryptos that you could possibly get, huge returns on. Because if you look at the highs from back in the day, it was up there, right? Dropped all the way down to $2. Okay. If we get a retracement down to, let's say, I'd say anywhere from $4 to $6 is good, a good buying position again. But I was telling people get in from down here, right? Obviously, all of the ISO coins you want to be in. So whether it's Ripple, Stellar Lumens, etc., make sure you're in that. I got Ethereum also making new highs. This was a really good retracement, though, guys. Feel like that's what the market needed in order to, build up the momentum to go rally up again. All right. But overall, guys, like I said, I ain't want to be too long. Not sure even when we got on here, but I feel like that was definitely long enough. I think we got enough laid out on the table for you guys to be prepared this week. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my evening, set my intentions for this week. I'm planning on having a huge week in the markets and life in general. So, with that being said, guys, hopefully you guys do the same. Enjoy your evening, man. Remember why it is that you guys started. And let me make sure I check this chat real quick. Make sure I don't never trust crypto highs around this time of year. Hey, I feel it. Um, Market's about to pump. Oh, the checks go out to people. Market's gonna pump. Yeah, I did. I heard about them checks too. That'll be great. Honestly, that'll be great. Okay. Yeah, for sure, guys. No problem. No problem. Thank y'all for tuning in. And again, if you got some value from this call, feel free, drop a follow to your boy on Instagram. And let's continue to grow, family. Again, I enjoy doing these calls every Sunday. And hopefully you guys learn something, whether it's a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of mindset, a little bit of technical analysis. And let's have a great week, guys. Be disciplined, be confident, and be focused. All right. See y'all on the next one. Peace.